So by now, you may be on board and believe that focusing on equity is something that we need to do. But you're still concerned about our focus on racial and ethnic equity as a priority because what about low-income students? What about our LGBTQ students? What about our veterans and other underserved student groups? These are all valid concerns. Our prioritization of tackling the equity gap among our racial and ethnic students does not eliminate our commitment to finding ways to create a healthy campus climate and personalized support services that focus on the needs of our low-income, LGBTQ, students with disabilities, and other underrepresented student groups. We know that we are only as strong as our weakest link. When using our student completion eyes, we are able to see that our students of color, particularly our African American males, are significantly being left behind in the opportunity to be successful here at TCC. We know that the strategies and supports that we put in place to counter institutional barriers to their success will also help our low-income students because we are intersectional beings. We each come with multiple social identities, so the practices we put in place will help all students. America's Unmet Promise cites evidence that by 2027, virtually half of those graduating from high school will come from communities of color. We know that students of color and low-income students are far more likely to enroll in our institution than OSU or OU. Failure to invest in quality learning for students of color will mean, in the very near future, an absolute loss of American capability. I'm not going to spend much time on this point. I'm going to quickly highlight a few points because this topic typically yields itself best to understanding when it allows for a back and forth discussion. The first point I'll make when trying to help you understand why equity requires a focus on race is that race, unlike income, is visible to the eye. Whether we like it or not, we make judgments consciously or unconsciously based on what we see. Cognitive schemas are culturally acquired, and we have been socially taught to see color even when we say we are colorblind. Seeing color is natural. There's nothing wrong with seeing color. We should see color. The problem is the meaning that we attach to the color that we see. This is where implicit bias kicks in and how it impacts the way we engage with our colleagues and our students. It affects the expectations we set for our students. And when left unchecked, it affects the feedback we give our students about the assignments they turn in. It impacts who we give eye contact to, who we acknowledge, who we call on, who students ask to be in their groups, who we encourage, and sometimes who we willingly help and who we decide will only help if they ask for help. Not being willing to learn about our biases so that we can intentionally work to unlearn them means that we are oftentimes contributing to unwelcoming, hostile, and/or alienating environments for those of whom we have learned to hold negative assumptions about. It works against our ability to create a sense of belonging for all of our students, which we know a sense of belonging is positively associated with retention and achievement. When we fool ourselves into thinking that we don't see or focus on race, it makes it more difficult to understand fully the impact of race on educational opportunity. Also, as stated in the prior section, racial inequality is the cumulative effect of 250 years of slavery, 90 years of Jim Crow, and 60 years of separate but equal. The history of segregation and marginalization in under-resourced public schools, as well as active exclusion from higher education institutions, has created an enduring pattern of underattainment. With that knowledge, I ask you, does a mandate to integrate magically make faculty and staff who were unwilling, uncomfortable, and uninterested in teaching students of color suddenly willing and motivated to mold these young minds? I can tell you it does not. I can tell you that we have employees at our institution today that are uncomfortable working with people from differing racial and ethnic backgrounds. Participating in trainings like this and dialogues can help those continuing to struggle with our growing racial ethnic diversity grow into an equity-minded practitioner. If we as an institution value diversity and want to eliminate the deep educational divides present in our very own institution, divides that reflect and perpetuate inequality, we must make equity a priority and integrate it in all that we do.